for some of you, and that's why that reflection sheet. So let's look at your homework. Let's look at this page where you said, you know what, I just didn't get this. And it looks like most of the questions kind of start with number 10, and this is how your answers need to look. You need to write m of 2 equals, and here if I looked at number 7, it would have been 4 minus 7, which is a negative 3. That whole thing is my answer to the question. That's what I need to have written. I need to put the m of 2, because that's the function notation, equals what I simplified or evaluated that to give me. Okay? So I'm now looking at number 10, and in number 10, the problem said, and some of you thought you had to split that. There is no split. You're just replacing the x with the negative 5. So you are writing w of negative 5 on your paper. Any place where there's an x in the problem, you're replacing that x with negative 5. Plus 2, absolute value, and then it was minus 10. Inside this absolute value, there's nothing to split. You're simplifying it. What is negative 5 plus 2, the absolute value? That is the absolute value of negative 3 minus 10. What's the absolute value of negative 3? The absolute value of negative 3 is 3 minus 10. So what is w of negative 5 equal to? It is equal to negative 7. Done. That's it. That's what the answers are looking at. Answers are in the back. If you didn't check as you're going through these, start checking. Some of you, that would be the one thing when I think about the test, is I just don't know if you're checking your answers that much to make sense of them. Number 13 is a little different. They give you the equation f of x is equal to x squared minus 3. So then the next thing they tell us is that f of question mark is 46. So when you look at that problem today, what I want you to do is start with x squared minus 3, because that's what this f of x was, and it was equal to 46. So we're going to put x squared minus 3 equals 46. I need to get x squared by itself. First step to get x squared by itself, Brecken, would be to do what? No, I want to get x squared by itself.
Add 3 to each side.
Add 3 to both sides. So you're kind of doing reverse order of operations. You are not doing your powers first in this case. So we get x squared is equal to 49. And that's how they got the answers of, if I know x squared, to undo squaring, I'm going to take the square root of 49. But it is not just 7. Because if I plug in negative 7, it works also. So it's kind of like your absolute values when you had to split that. Because if I go back and I do a check, and I say, oh, well, if it was f of negative 7, and if I square negative 7, and I talked about that in the video of squaring a negative number is always positive, and then it was minus 3, well, this would give you 49 minus 3, which equals the 46. And would I get the same when I plug in 7? I would. Now, I'm not sure the questions on 14, 15, and 16 if you didn't watch the video and do domain and range. So, someone want to give me like one of them, like I just don't get this about it, so I kind of know what we're going with. Because I'm guessing there's quite a few of you, because a lot of you had 15 up here, but not 14 and 16, but something in particular. So I'm going to kind of refer back to the notes first, and I have the notes on here where we talked about the domain and range. And in the notes that some of you didn't write down yet, we kind of had, I think I took off that page with the long paragraph, but the domain, usually you're going to say any whole number or any number, and instead of writing this from 1 to 21, we're going to say that goes from 1 less or equal to that value n, and you're always using the value n that they gave you. Here we were looking at granola bars. They said you ordered 300, so what's the least we could have had? 0 for our domain. What's the most? 300. We're going to leave the b because we're talking about bars, and they told us in this function notation, p of b. We are looking at, in this case, when we're looking at the profit, so it's the p of b, What's the most if you buy 300? Well, 300 times 75 cents, 225. What's the least? Well, 0 times 75 cents is 0. This one we talked about in the video as being discrete because you can't buy a half of a granola bar. Whereas here you are talking about distances in miles, and it can be continuous. And you have an end point because that's where it stops, because they told us the max was, in this case, 17. Okay? That's all our gas tank holds is 17 gallons. So we're going to look at 15, and if you have questions on the other ones, it says a charter boat travels at minimum rate of 25 miles per hour. The function is d of t equals 25x. Represent the distance d of t in miles that you can drive for x hours. The charter boat travels a maximum of 75 miles from shore. Identify a reasonable domain and range. So we're going to have x here, and it's going to be in between two things. That's our domain, that's our x value, and then our y value, or our d of x, what that is in between. So if we are looking at this, Gavin, what would you say is our, if we are looking at the x part, what would you say is our lowest one that we're looking at? You're going to have 0. How about for the largest domain? What do you have? 3. Why 3? Does this have 3 anywhere in the problem? Because why?
If you times 25 by 3 equals 75.
25 times 3 is equal to 75. And they told us the maximum distance from shore is 75 miles, right? So this has to be 3. What was our maximum distance? 75, right? So this, they actually gave us our range, okay? And this is 0. So you had to use the information to decide that problem. It then says make a graph of this. Yeah, I was okay. I had some people say, is it okay if I did my graph right here on the paper? Yes. So my domain is the x. That's our what? What unit would you put down here? It's my hours, right? I got 0 hours, I got 1, I got 2, I have 3 hours, okay? If you did it on graph paper, that's fine. Now my scale going up might be quite a bit different, right? I might, because I need to go up to 75, so maybe I go up by 25, right? And this is 25, 50, and we might say that this is our unit in miles. And if you had a title on the graph, you might say something like distance traveled, something like that. And 0 was 0, right? 1, we're at 25. 2, we're at 50. 3, we're at 75. Should it be continuous or discrete? Can you drive half an hour? Yes, you can drive a fourth of an hour, right? So this should be continuous, but it is going to stop here. It is not going to have an arrow on it because the max we can go is 3. So if you put an arrow and you continue that, and this is one that people will get wrong when we take our test on this unit, is like, oh yeah, and this keeps going with an arrow. If they tell you the max, that's where it is, and that's where you're stopping. Now, this one, when we're looking at packages of pancake mixes, when I look at that graph, I know in the back it has it as a continuous one. It should only be discrete, right? Because you can't buy a half one. So I wasn't happy with how they put that answer back there. And if you drew a line, I wouldn't mark it wrong, but just make sure you're understanding that one. How about down here? Can this one be discrete or continuous if we look at 16? Oh, you don't have to graph it. Well, would it be continuous or discrete? Discrete. It'd be discrete, right? Because we can't buy, I mean, you might like to only eat half a cookie, but you still have to buy the full one, right? Okay. All right. So, today, x-axis, right? And our y-axis. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have like a backside.
Oh,
I mean, it doesn't have a front side.
did anyone else in this room get one? You must be out of the original.
Yeah.
Give me, I'll give you the front back. Okay, so, yep. Oh yeah, it is. Thank you. X and Y, yep. So y is our vertical and our x. So if it helps you to label your y and x axis, okay, right by those lines. Sometimes some people have made their lines a little larger or older because they're kind of hard to see. So in that first one, if I was stating my domain, I'm going to put x in the middle. Since it's a closed circle, it's an equal, right?
Yeah.
X is greater or equal to how much? -1. Okay? Now I'm going to go up to my largest x value, which is up here, and my largest x value is at 5. So I'm going to state my domain for each one. Then I'm going to go down and I'm going to look at the range. The range is the y values. And I'm going to write it with this inequality also. Now, some of them have open circles, right? So then it's not going to be, and some of you got mixed up on that on the test. You decided you got mixed up between when it's a closed and open circle. But so if we're looking at the y's, what's my lowest y value? -1 also. What's my highest y value? 2. Is this determined if the graph is a function? For each input, is there an output?
Yep.
Yes. Each x gives me a unique y, and if I drew that vertical line, it passes. So is it a function? Yes. So go to work, get started on these. You can work with your shoulder partner on them. I'm going to be